Noobs! I'm going to teach you guys all about co-living today. What is co-living? How to increase rental income through co-living. How has the pandemic affected co-living? Which buildings are viable for co-living? My secret formula to determine if a property is viable for co-living in a few minutes. How to lay out co-living floor plans. And then you will become co-living masters like me. I will take you on as my disciples. But first, you must hit subscribe. Kitten reveal at 250 subs. What is co-living? Co-living isn't a new concept by any means, but it is emerging as a new asset class. Living with roommates has been a thing for probably as long as rooms have been around. But up until a few years ago, the best ways to find roommates were through friends or rolling the dice on Craigslist. And thus, co-living emerged as a formalized roommate experience without a lot of the pain points. Furniture, utilities, Wi-Fi, laundry, basic shared goods, and cleaning service are all included. Roommates don't have to worry about prorating rent and bills, or aligning their move-in and move-out dates. They don't have to argue about whose turn it is to clean the bathrooms. A studio, on the other hand, would start at a higher base rent, and when you add in the cost of moving furniture, a broker's fee, monthly utilities, Wi-Fi, laundry, shared goods, and cleaning service, it adds up to a lot more. So it's much more affordable for renters who need flexibility and are looking for a cost-effective, all-inclusive option. How do you make more money with co-living? Co-living works by increasing bedroom density, and the apartments are typically around 3 to 5 bedrooms. Assume you have a 2-bedroom unit that would normally rent for $3,000 a month. If you reconfigure it to fit a third bedroom, co-living would yield about $1,800 per bed, or $5,400 for the whole unit. That's a huge uplift. Operating co-living is more expensive than a traditional rental though, but your NOI will increase overall, thereby improving your valuation. If you're an experienced noob, you watch my videos explaining that. If you're not, go watch them. And subscribe! How has COVID affected co-living? From an investment perspective, co-living has been negatively affected in a lot of areas. It's a product that focuses on increasing density in the densest cities in the US. Meanwhile, the pandemic has created a mass migration from dense urban centers to suburbs. Airbnb also slingshotted from being phantom supply in the hotel sector to flooding the multifamily sector with long-term furnished rentals. So competing supply has increased and rents have fallen. However, some cities are more affected than others. New York has been hardest hit. The consensus seems to be that this price depression in urban multifamily could last about 2 years, so it doesn't invalidate co-living as an asset class. It will, however, weed out the weaker operators and slow down the supply pipeline. Cities will come back eventually, and so will multifamily and co-living. Even office will make a comeback. I can't say the same for retail. However, if you're a renter and you really need to move to a city right now, there hasn't been a better time to switch to co-living at a really good price. Which buildings are viable for co-living? The first thing to look at is location. Pandemic pricing aside, co-living has historically been in higher demand in first and second tier cities with above average cost of living. NYC, Bay Area, LA, Chicago, Atlanta, to name a few. Second thing to look at is bed counts. If the co-living demand exists in the building's neighborhood, the next step is to check if you can achieve the minimum required density. If it's an existing building, it must either already have the correct density or have the potential to be densified to be 3-bedroom apartments and up. If it's ground up, the site still needs to pass a couple checks. The densification is what creates the NOI uplift and makes the co-living conversion financially viable. Now it's time to share one of my greatest co-living secrets. Something that took me almost a year to derive after evaluating over 100 potential co-living deals. But first, you better hit subscribe, because a lot of industry insiders don't even know this one. Did you hit subscribe? Okay, here's the secret. You want to calculate whether uppercase M, the maximum possible number of beds in your building, is greater than lowercase m, the minimum number of co-living beds required to achieve a higher rent per square foot than traditional rentals. Starting with the right side, we can calculate the little m by taking the building's gross square feet and dividing it by 450. This magic number represents the square footage per member for the entire building. This number varies slightly city to city, depending on price per square foot and typical apartment sizes. Cheaper cities tend to have larger apartments, so that number has a little room to go up. New York is more expensive, and the magic number is 400. On the left side, my shortcut calculation for uppercase M is W minus C minus U. W stands for windows, which is equal to the linear feet of exterior facade with windows divided by 10, because you can fit approximately one bedroom for every 10 feet of wall with a window. C is the number of corners on your building with 2 windows. This ensures you're not double counting beds that are in a corner and gobble up to 20 linear feet of walls with windows. And U is the number of units you plan to put in the building, because each unit will need a living room and kitchen, and a living room requires a window. So you're starting with the number of beds you could have if your building was nothing but bedrooms, then subtracting out the double-counted corner beds, and subtracting out the living rooms, which gets you the maximum number of beds you're allowed in the building. It's a maximum because it doesn't account for code restrictions, which is really a localized problem. So to recap, if that max number, big M, is greater than the minimum number, little m, you've got a potential co-living building on your hands. If you're building on a vacant lot, you can use this formula to derive how many windows you'll need. I'll save you some time. If you've got a skinny mid-block lot, you won't be able to achieve the required density. As far as I know, not even co-living operators have figured this formula out. But now you know. Worth hitting subscribe for, right? How do you reconfigure the floor plans? If an existing building passes the previous test, then you know that co-living is possible, but not confirmed. So the next step is to start reconfiguring floor plans to see if you can create workable layouts, and that will be mostly based on how many units you want in your buildings. Because you have to consider whether the location and the size of the kitchens and living rooms make sense as well. Couple ground rules. Your bed-to-bath ratio should never exceed 3:1. Don't go for the absolute max number of beds. The revenue doesn't scale linearly with your bedroom count because you only have so much square footage to work with in your building. The denser it is, the cheaper the rents will be per tenant. The less livable it is, the higher turnover rate you'll have. Let's look at a couple examples. Looking at this existing floor plan, it's been fully gutted so it's a blank canvas, and the floor plate is 22 by 92 feet, or 2,024 square feet. Divide by 400 since it's in New York, and we find that we need to fit a minimum of 5 bedrooms to achieve the required density. But we've only got 44 linear feet of exterior frontage with windows, and we'd probably want to fit 2 units here, which means the max beds we can possibly fit is 2. 3 if we do full floor units. You can't achieve the co-living density with this one. Now let's look at the next example. Looking at this existing floor plan, we've got 3 units. A 2-bed, 2-bath along the bottom, a studio, and a 1-bed, 1-bath. This has plenty of potential for densification. First, because you've got 3 kitchens and 3 living rooms. You can reclaim 2 of those to make some space for bedrooms if you combine into 2 units, 1 on the bottom, 1 on the top. This yields 2 units with a total of 6 beds and 4 baths. The previous floor plan might have yielded $2,000 for the studio, $2,500 for the 1-bed, and $3,000 for the 2-bed for a total of $7,500 a month in rent. The co-living floor plan at $1,800 a bed could get you $10,800 a month in rent. Not bad. And that is basic co-living investment analysis in a nutshell. You should now all be co-living masters like me. But if you have more questions about co-living, put them in the comments or reach out to us on LinkedIn using the link below. And don't forget to hit subscribe.